Toward the beginning of the film, we're taken to an unwanted spot called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. It was once a fruitful amusement focus, but since of an obscure occurrence it has been fixed off. We're then taken inside where the watchman is attempting to get away from an inconspicuous element. He frantically opens an air vent and creeps inside, yet similarly as he's going to reach the principal entryway, he is caught and thumped out. When he awakens, he gets himself lashed to a seat with dangerously sharp edges approaching his face. The gatekeeper argues for help, yet he is mercilessly polished off. Following this, we're acquainted with our hero Mike, a lethargic and thoughtful fellow. He fills in as a safety officer at a shopping center one day when he detects a man attempting to drag a kid away. He expects that a capturing is occurring. Consequently, he handles the man and starts beating him up. After the difficulty, Mike feels like a superhuman. However, he rapidly discovers that the man he just beat up is really the kid's dad. Because of this, he is terminated from his work. In the following scene, he goes to his guide Steve's office to search for a new position. Anyway, the last option makes reference to that, because of his awful rep it would be extremely challenging to track down one. Everybody he goes to, he generally causes pointless upheaval. Now the, as it were, choice he has is to work at Freddy's Pizza Shop as a safety officer. Mike is really keen on the gig. However, when he discovers that it's an evening shift, he rejects. Later he gets back also welcomes his younger sibling Abby. She is the motivation behind why he denied the evening shift. We additionally discovered that during the day a sitter named Max deals with her. Following this, Mike takes a resting tablet and nods off. Soon after, he starts dreaming, which returns him to his experience growing up days. He is having an excursion with his family in a peaceful area. Mother Tom advises him to take care of his little sibling Garrett. Tragically, when Mike is occupied briefly, somebody hijacks the kid and removes him in a vehicle. This prompts Mike to shock alert from his rest. The next day he goes to a meeting with his shrewd Auntie Jane. Turns out the lady is fighting to acquire authority of Abby with the goal that she can get government subsidizing for her consideration. The shopping center episode has left Mike in an unsafe position, as his auntie guarantees that he is not a reasonable parent. Anyway, the case manager chooses to give him another chance. She converses with Mike in private and advises him to get a new line of work when conceivable, or, more than likely, Abby will be removed. Hearing this, he quickly calls Steve. Furthermore, acknowledges the safety officer position at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. That evening, he leaves his sister with Max and goes to the pizza joint. As he meanders around the place, he is surprised by a frightening doll that springs up all of a sudden. Anyway, Mike accepts that it's simply a robot, so he takes a resting pill and yet again falls asleep. He longs for Garrett being captured. However, the situation has marginally changed. This time he is encircled by a gathering of strange young men. Mike asks who they are. However, the young men try not to reply and just take off. As Mike attempts to pursue them, he excursions and falls, provoking him to awaken. The following morning, he returns home and thanks the sitter Max for her work. Turns out he hasn't paid her in months. However, she is fine with it. Later, Max and her sibling Jeff meet Auntie Jane at a bistro. This uncovers that the three are contriving together. Jane needs to find soil on Mike to demonstrate that he's an unsteady parent. Anyway, Max has fizzled to find anything such a long way since time is running out. Jeff thinks of an arrangement of his own. He says that he will break into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza and annihilate it totally. This will prompt Mike being terminated, which thusly will incite him to lose guardianship of Abby. That evening at work, Mike indeed takes a resting pill. Also, nods off this time he makes do to get one of the young men and he requests to know who they are anyway. The kid out of nowhere scratches his hand with a privateer snare, which makes him stir. From his fantasy, inevitably he hears somebody at the entryway. On checking he finds a nearby cop named Vanessa. Outside she sees an injury on his hand and inquires about it. Mike is shocked to learn that the injury from his fantasy has some way or another moved to reality. Following this the two start talking and Vanessa says that this spot is very near her heart. During her young life days she used to visit Freddy Fazbear's Pizza frequently anyway. After 5 children out of nowhere disappeared, the spot was closed down. After this, she takes Mike to the diversion room and turns on the power. Due to this, few virile mechanical dolls, which seem to be people, show some signs of life and begin moving. Mike is a bit went ballistic by them, yet he doesn't let's assume anything right now. In the morning the two leave for home, taking benefit of this. Jeff and his thugs go into the control room and start unleashing devastation. Unexpectedly the animatronics show signs of life and begin killing the thugs individually. Jeff attempts to take off, however, he is additionally gotten and mercilessly killed. An hour passes and when they don't return, Max chooses to search for them. As she adventures inside she meets one of the animatronics named Freddy. He appears to be talking like a youngster, inquisitive. Max chooses to investigate him, however Freddy out of nowhere becomes fully awake and polishes her off. Later, as Mike is unwinding at home, Vanessa shows up outside. Also, advises him regarding the break-in. She draws out a container of dosing pills. Also, asks why he takes them in. Reaction: Mike chooses to share the whole truth with her. He uncovers that quite a long while back his sibling Garrett was snatched by an obscure man. His guardians likewise kicked the bucket not long after in a vehicle mishap. This constrained him to deal with his more youthful sister Abby. In spite of the fact that Mike has fairly mended from the injury, he is as yet frantic to track down the ruffian. So consistently, he takes the resting pills and dreams about that pivotal day. In order to track down any significant hints, Mike guarantees that his new dreams at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza have been more definite, and he's drawing nearer. Hearing this, Vanessa understands that he's blameless, so she lets him be. The scene then, at that point, slices to the night where Mike frantically attempts to connect with Max. At the point when she doesn't answer, he is compelled to take Abby alongside her. After he puts her to rest, he takes his pills and once again floats into his domain of dreams. This time he faces a blonde kid and asks, assuming they were additionally snatched in the 1980s. The kid answers with a yes. Mike then asks who the criminal is, and accordingly the kid focuses to a shocking looking drawing on the ground that looks like a bunny. Unexpectedly, Mike shocks alert to his sister shouts. When he hurries to that room, he sees the animatronics playing with her. Ends up they were simply stimulating her, which caused her to shout, albeit the demonstration is innocuous. Mike is blown a gasket, so he quickly removes Abby from that point. After getting back, he actually takes a look at his sister's attracting and gets astonished to discover that they are about those animatronics. He likewise regards one as about Garrett, which shocks him in light of the fact that Abby wasn't even conceived when the kidnapping took place. When he gets some information about it, Abby says that the blonde kid filled her in about him. Hearing this, Mike understands that his sister is the way to seeing as the criminal, so he chooses to take her to the pizza shop again. In the following scene, they show up at the spot and find Vanessa as of now there. At first she admonishes him for bringing his sister, however then she quiets down and uncovers that these animatronics have been moved by the spirits of the seized youngsters. All of a sudden, the robots show some major signs of life and they all begin playing the following night. Mike chooses to go alone with nobody to call for help. He leaves Abby in the consideration of Auntie Jane. He takes a bigger number of pills than regular and falls asleep. This time he has an alternate dream where his whole family including Garrett is having supper together. All at once the blonde kid appears and offers Mike an arrangement. He will offer him Garrett, yet as a trade-off Mike has to abandon his sister. This leaves our legend in a truly challenging circumstance as he loves both of his kin beyond a doubt. In any case, in the end he picks for his sister as he has an extremely close bond with her. Hearing the choice, the children get irate and fire pummeling him unexpectedly. Mike awakens from his fantasy and finds himself lashed to a seat. A lethal gadget is gradually moving toward his face to kill him. Mike some way or another figures out how to break free and turns off the machine. However, he can't get much of anywhere as one of the animatronics gets up to speed to him and thumps him. Oblivious in the meantime is staring at the television at home, and that's what we notice. Freddy has additionally shown up there. The blonde kid then, at that point, moves toward her and welcomes her to play with them. He asserts that her auntie is resting, yet actually they have killed her tragically. Abby consents to go with him, so they board a taxi and make a beeline for the pizza joint. On the other hand, Mike recovers awareness. What's more, sees Vanessa close to him. She uncovers that she saved him from those beasts. Furthermore, brought him here. After this she continues to let him know the whole truth. She uncovers that this spot was claimed by a man named William Afton. He was so detestable that he used to wear a yellow rabbit outfit and capture youngsters. Garrett was one of his casual